waters of the Gulf of Oman, something is happening that makes no sense. For the first time in history, three countries are conducting joint maneuvers with their warships. They are China, Iran, and Russia. Everyone sees the warships, but almost no one is noticing who is pulling the strings behind this unnatural alliance.
The three most powerful enemies in human history just became friends, and nobody's asking why. For 1,000 years, Russia and Persia fought 4 blood-soaked wars. For 30 years, China and the Soviet Union aimed nuclear missiles at each other's capitals, one mistake away from ending the world. These nations share no religion, no ideology, no common interest. Russia worships Orthodox Christianity. Iran follows radical Islam. China enforces state atheism. Their alliance makes zero sense, unless you read Ezekiel chapter 38. Written 2,600 years ago, it names 3 powers, Magog, Persia, and the kings of the East, that will unite despite having nothing in common. It describes why they'll join forces. It reveals what pulls them together like a hook through the jaw, and it details what happens when they finally move. That movement has already started. The prophet's map is becoming tomorrow's headline, and the timeline he gave us is almost finished. Look at what's happening right now. In the Gulf of Oman, Russian destroyers sail alongside Chinese warships and Iranian frigates. They're running coordinated attack drills, sharing intelligence, planning together. This isn't a photo opportunity, it's operational integration. Vladimir Putin stands in Moscow's Cathedral of Christ the Savior, kissing icons and calling himself a defender of the Christian faith, yet he's shaking hands with Iran's supreme leader, a man whose government chants death to the infidels every Friday in 60,000 mosques. Russia is the infidel. Christians are the enemy Islam has fought for 1,400 years. Then there's China. Beijing runs concentration camps holding over 1 million Uyghur Muslims. Satellite images show mosques being demolished. Former prisoners describe forced renunciations of faith. Yet China just signed a $400 billion strategic partnership with Iran, the world's leading Islamic theocracy. The hypocrisy is staggering, but it gets stranger. Russia and Persia, the old name for Iran, went to war 4 separate times between 1804 and 1828. Over 200,000 soldiers died in those conflicts. The hatred ran deep. Persians still tell stories about Russian atrocities. China and the Soviet Union nearly launched nuclear war in 1969 over a border dispute. For 3 decades, both nations kept ICBMs targeted at each other's cities. Millions of lives hung on a hair trigger. These aren't allies. They're historical enemies forced into the same room. So what changed? What force is strong enough to make Orthodox Christians, Shia Muslims, and communist atheists hold hands? The answer isn't in any political science textbook. It's written in a scroll that's been sitting in plain sight for 2,600 years. And what it reveals about why they're together is less important than what it says they're planning to do. To understand what's driving this alliance, you need to understand the wounds these nations carry. December 26, 1991, the Soviet flag descended from the Kremlin for the last time. Russia went from superpower to international punchline overnight. Vladimir Putin called it the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. He watched his nation's military might dissolve, its economy collapse, and NATO expand right to his borders. The humiliation burned deep. China remembers differently, but feels the same pain. They call it the Century of Humiliation, from 1839 to 1949, when Western powers carved up their nation like a Thanksgiving turkey. Britain forced opium on them, Japan invaded, America dictated terms. Xi Jinping's entire political philosophy centers on one promise: never again. Iran's wound is fresher. After their 1979 revolution, the United States froze $12 billion in assets, imposed crippling sanctions, and isolated them from the global financial system. For 45 years, they've been treated as international pariahs. Their leaders wear that rejection like a badge of honor, while quietly seething. 3 nations, 3 different wounds, one shared enemy. The West humiliated them all. That shared grievance is the glue holding this unnatural alliance together. Revenge might not be a political strategy taught in Western universities, but it's been driving empires for millennia. But here's what makes this terrifying. These wounds, these humiliations, these burning desires for payback, they're not accidental. They're not random historical events. They're the hooks. Around 580 BC, a Hebrew priest named Ezekiel sat by a river in Babylon and received one of history's most specific prophecies. It described an invasion of Israel by a coalition so precise that scholars ignored it for 2,000 years because it seemed impossible. Until now. Ezekiel 38 begins, "Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal." Magog, Meshech, and Tubal were ancient territories in what is now modern Russia. Historians place them north of the Black Sea, exactly where Moscow sits today. The Hebrew word for chief prince is Rosh, literally Russia. The prophecy continues. Persia, Cush, and Put will be with them. Persia didn't change its name to Iran until 1935. For 2,600 years, it was called exactly what Ezekiel called it. The identification is undeniable. But here's where it gets mathematically impossible. Revelation 9:16 describes an army from the kings of the East, numbering 200 million soldiers. When John wrote this in 95 AD, the entire human population was roughly 300 million. A 200 million man army was absurd. Even in 1950, no nation could field such a force. Only one nation on Earth can today, China. In 2019, Chinese military officials confirmed they could mobilize 200 million troops if needed. They're the only nation in human history with both the population and infrastructure to fulfill this prophecy. The odds of John guessing this 1,900 years ago, astronomical. Ezekiel describes these nations coming against Israel like a cloud covering the land in the latter years. He specifies they'll come when Israel has been gathered from many nations and is living in security. For 1,878 years, from 70 AD to 1948, there was no Israel to invade. Then, May 14, 1948 happened. Israel reappeared. The Jews returned from many nations, exactly as predicted. The impossible became possible. But Ezekiel reveals something even stranger about how this coalition forms. He says God will put hooks in their jaws and drag them into this conflict. They won't want to come. Something will compel them. Something is compelling them right now. In 2009, a massive natural gas field was discovered 80 miles off Israel's coast. The Leviathan field contains an estimated 22 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, enough to make Israel energy independent and a major exporter. Russia's economy runs on energy exports. They supply 40% of Europe's natural gas. Israeli competition threatens hundreds of billions in annual revenue. That's not geopolitical theory. That's a hook in the jaw. Iran's motivation goes deeper than economics. Their leadership believes in the imminent return of the Mahdi, the Islamic Messiah, who can only appear after a great apocalyptic war. Former Iranian President Ahmadinejad installed a countdown clock in Tehran, marking days until Israel's destruction. Current Supreme Leader Khamenei tweets regularly about Israel's elimination. This isn't political rhetoric, it's religious conviction. They want this war. China's hook is ticking. Their workforce peaked in 2015 and is now shrinking by 5 million workers annually. Their population is aging faster than any society in history. By 2035, they'll have more retirees than workers. Their economic is a demographic time bomb. Taiwan reunification and regional dominance aren't long-term goals, they're urgent necessities. The window is closing. Meanwhile, Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 revealed something biblical. Ezekiel 39:4 describes a bear with 3 ribs in its mouth, being told to arise and devour much flesh. The bear is Russia's national symbol. 3 previous conquests give it appetite for more. Georgia invaded 2008. Crimea annexed 2014. Ukraine invaded 2022. 3 ribs. The bear is feeding exactly as prophesied. All 3 nations have narrowing windows. Putin is 72. Xi is 71. Khamenei is 85. Their replacements may not share their ambitions. The demographic cliffs are arriving. The economic pressures are mounting. If this invasion is coming, it's coming soon. But here's the problem that stumped prophecy scholars for centuries. How do armies from Russia, China, and Iran even reach Israel? The path was impossible, until recently. Revelation 16:12 describes the Euphrates River drying up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. For 2,000 years, the Euphrates formed a natural barrier between Asia and the Middle East. Armies couldn't cross it. In 2021, it dropped to its lowest level in recorded history. Satellite images show sections completely dry. The Iraqi government declared a water crisis. The river that watered Babylon and the Garden of Eden is disappearing. The barrier is gone. China's Belt and Road Initiative, launched in 2013, has built a highway and rail network from Beijing to Tehran. Over $1 trillion spent on infrastructure connecting East Asia to the Middle East. They called it an economic development project. Prophecy scholars call it an invasion route. Russia positioned itself even closer. In 2015, they established Khmeimen Air Base in Syria, 38 miles from the Mediterranean coast and 60 miles from Israel's northern border. For the first time since Ezekiel's prophecy, Russian military forces are pre-positioned directly north of Israel. They didn't conquer Syria, they were invited. Assad gave them a 49-year lease. The hooks worked perfectly. Iran built what they call a ring of fire around Israel. Hezbollah in Lebanon, 150,000 rockets. Hamas in Gaza, militias in Syria, Houthis in Yemen. They spend $16 billion annually maintaining this network. It's not defense, it's encirclement. And China, in 2015, they acquired a 25-year operating lease on Haifa Port, Israel's largest shipping terminal. Chinese state-owned companies now control critical Israeli infrastructure. The U.S. Navy stopped using Haifa because of security concerns. The armies are positioned, the route is built, the barrier is removed. Every impossible piece is in place. But surely Israel's allies, America, Britain, NATO, would intervene to stop a 3-superpower invasion. Surely.
Ezekiel 38:13 describes the response from Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish and all her villages. Tarshish was ancient Phoenicia's westernmost trading port. Most scholars identify it as Britain. The young lions are her colonies, America, Canada, Australia. Here's their response when Russia, Iran, and China invade Israel. Have you come to seize spoil? Not stop, not we're intervening, a question. They're asking about intentions while watching it happen. America can't save Israel because America is collapsing internally. A 2022 poll showed 74% of Americans believe civil war is likely within their lifetime. National debt exceeds $34 trillion. Political polarization is at civil war levels. Military recruitment is failing. There's no political will for another Middle East war. Britain is managing its own decline. The empire that once controlled a quarter of Earth's land surface now can't control its borders. NATO expansion provoked the very Russian aggression it claimed to prevent. The alliances that defined the 20th century are prophetically irrelevant in the 21st. Israel will stand alone. Ezekiel saw this 2,600 years ago. When the invasion comes, the West will issue statements, hold emergency UN meetings, and impose sanctions. They'll do everything except fight. And Israel will face the combined militaries of Russia, Iran, China, and their proxies. Roughly 1.8 billion people,
5,000 nuclear warheads and conventional forces that outnumber Israel's population 200 to 1. 9 million Israelis versus 3 superpowers. It's not a war, it's annihilation. Every military analyst would predict total Israeli destruction within 72 hours, which is why what happens next has nothing to do with military analysis. Ezekiel 38 and 39 describe the invasion in clinical detail. Hundreds of thousands of troops, mechanized divisions, air superiority. The coalition advances like a storm cloud. And then God moves. Not through human armies, not through allies, not through nuclear retaliation. 7 supernatural weapons unleash in sequence, and 2,600 years of impossible prophecy culminates in minutes. Weapon 1, the great earthquake. There shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. The African and Arabian tectonic plates meet directly under the Dead Sea. Seismologists call it one of Earth's most dangerous fault lines. It splits. The ground beneath the invading armies turns to liquid. Tanks sink. Supply lines collapse. Revelation 16 describes mountains disappearing and islands fleeing. This isn't a standard earthquake. It's geological restructuring in real time. Weapon 2, confusion and friendly fire. Every man's sword will be against his brother. 3 different languages, 3 different military doctrines. Atheist Chinese troops alongside Islamic Iranian Revolutionary Guards, alongside Orthodox Russian soldiers. In the chaos of the earthquake, communications fail. They turn on each other. Tower of Babel repeated with automatic weapons. Weapon 3, instant plague. Their flesh shall dissolve while they stand on their feet. Their eyes shall dissolve in their sockets, and their tongues dissolve in their mouths. Zechariah 14:12 describes tissue liquefaction while soldiers are still standing. Not radiation burns, not chemical weapons, cellular breakdown at the molecular level, bodies collapsing from the inside out. Weapon 4, 100-pound hailstones. Revelation 16:21 specifies hailstones weighing about a talent, roughly 75 to 100 pounds. Physics, a 100-pound ice block falling from storm cloud altitude hits the ground at over 100 miles per hour. Tank armor won't help, neither will helmets. Weapon 5, torrential rain. Ezekiel 38:22 adds flooding rain to the disaster. The invasion route turns to impassable mud. Retreat becomes impossible. The desert becomes a swamp. Mechanized armies designed for rapid advance are trapped in place. Weapon 6, fire and sulfur. I will rain down fire and brimstone. Sodom and Gomorrah repeated. Volcanic activity, thermal destruction. The same judgment that consumed 2 cities now consumes 3 armies. Weapon 7, blood plague. I will bring him to judgment with pestilence and bloodshed. Uncontrollable hemorrhaging. The troops who survived the earthquake, friendly fire, flesh plague, hailstones, rain, and fire now bleed out from every orifice. Ezekiel 39:2 gives the final casualty count. I will turn you around and drag you along. I will leave but a sixth of you. 5/6 destroyed, 83.3% casualty rate. If the coalition fields 200 million troops, that's 166.7 million dead in hours. No human weapon achieves that, no nuclear exchange, no conventional warfare. This is divine intervention, visible from space. The silence after the battle is louder than the war itself. Ezekiel 39:12 describes Israel spending 7 months burying the dead. With 9 million Israelis and 166.7 million corpses, that's roughly 79 bodies per Israeli citizen. They'll designate a mass burial site in the Valley of Magog, literally the Valley of the Multitudes of Gog. The entire nation will shut down for disposal operations. Ezekiel 39:9 says they'll burn the invaders' weapons for fuel for 7 years. Military-grade composite materials, vehicle fuel reserves, munitions, enough combustible material to power a nation for 7 years. Israel won't need energy imports until 2032. The numbers aren't symbolic, they're logistical. But the physical aftermath is nothing compared to the ideological earthquake. Ezekiel 39:7 declares, "So I will make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not let my holy name be profaned anymore. Then the nations will know that I am the Lord, the Holy One in Israel." 5/6 of the invasion force dies. That leaves 1/6 alive, 33.3 million survivors. Noah's flood left one family of 8 from a world population. That's approximately 1 in 1 million. This leaves 1 in 6, enough to return home and testify to what they witnessed. Imagine 33 million shell-shocked soldiers returning to Russia, China, and Iran with identical testimonies. God destroyed our armies. We watched flesh melt. We saw fire fall from heaven. The earthquake split the ground. No human did this. China, officially atheist since 1949, receives 5.5 million traumatized believers. How does a government that denies God's existence explain 5.5 million soldiers testifying to divine intervention? They can't. The global paradigm shifts instantly. The question changes from, does God exist, to whose side is he on? It's the Red Sea moment repeated. Egypt's army destroyed. Witnesses survived to carry the story. The Exodus established God's power for a generation. This establishes it for every nation simultaneously. Every government, every intelligence agency, every military, every atheist philosophy professor, they'll all know. But here's what makes this moment absolutely chilling. The leaders knew. In 2012, Vladimir Putin quoted Revelation during a speech about Russia's future. He's read the prophecies. Xi Jinping's government monitors Christian growth obsessively. They know biblical eschatology better than most pastors. Iranian leaders openly discuss apocalyptic theology on state television. They know what's written, and they're doing it anyway. Judas sat at the Last Supper knowing he'd betray Christ. Jesus told him directly, "What you are about to do quickly." Judas had knowledge, warning, and choice. He fulfilled the prophecy anyway. Putin is 72. Xi is 71. Khamenei is 85. Their windows are closing. Russia's demographics collapse by 2035. China's workforce is already shrinking. Iran's regime grows more unstable annually. If this invasion is coming, the pieces must move soon, and they're moving now. The alliances are formed, the motivations are in place, the path is prepared, the West is paralyzed. Every impossible element Ezekiel described 2,600 years ago is visible on today's news. The hooks are in their jaws. They think they're choosing their strategy. They're not. But here's what should terrify you more than anything else. Ezekiel 38:39 isn't describing the final battle. It's describing what happens before Revelation's events even begin. This is just the setup. And if every detail of this prophecy is falling into place with mathematical precision, what does that mean for everything else that's been written? The pieces are moving, the clock is ticking, and no one can stop what's already been seen.